So far, we've talked about how to find the mean, median, and mode if you're given a list of numbers, a dot plot, or frequency table. But what if we wanted to go backwards? What if you knew what the mean or the average should be, and you had to figure out what kinds of data points you needed to get to that mean or that average? That's especially useful if you're taking maybe a number of tests in a math class, and you want your end of the year grade to be a certain grade. You got to figure out what do my grades have to be along the way to get to that final average end of the year grade. Well, Joe is in that kind of situation right now. Right now, Joe has an average of 6.85. If Joe wants to raise his mean or his average up to an 8, what does he have to score on the next test he takes? To figure this out, we're going to set up an average or a mean just like we did before. Remember, all we need to do is add up the number of points we have so far, divide by the number of tests, and that should equal our average. So Joe scored a 4 twice, so 4 times 2, plus he scored a 5 twice, so 5 times 2. He scored a 6 4 times, so 6 times 4, plus he scored a 7 5 times, so 7 times 5, plus he scored an 8 4 times, so 8 times 4, plus he scored a 9 twice, so 9 times 2, plus, and he scored a 10 just once, so plus 10. Now, we don't know what he's going to score on his next test, so I'll just add a plus x to the end, where x is his score on his next test. Now again, we're going to add all of those scores together and divide by the number of tests he's taken. In the last example, he took 20 tests, but now we're talking about all those tests plus one more, so by that point he'll have taken 21 tests. We'll divide by 21. And what does it equal? Well, we're hoping that equals up to an average of 8. That's our goal, to get an 8 as our average. Now this looks like a complicated equation, but it's actually not so bad. All of these numbers right here represent the number of points that Joe has gotten so far. So this 4 times 2 plus 5 times 2, we've already done all that. We already said from before that Joe got 137 points. So that all adds up to 137 points so far, plus x points, because again, we don't know what he's going to get in the next test, divided by 21 should equal 8. Now to solve for x here, I'll need to eliminate this divide by 21. Now the inverse of division is multiplication, so I will multiply both sides of the equation by 21. On the left-hand side, those cancel out. I'm left with 137 plus x equals 8 times 21, which happens to be 168. In other words, Joe scored 137 points so far on his first 20 tests, and he needs 168 points to get an average of 8 on 21 tests. So, how many more points does he need for that last test? Well, if I subtract 137 from both sides, I get x equals 168 minus 137 is 31. Wait a second, 31 points? It looks like these tests are at a 10. So it doesn't look like he's going to get his average up to an 8 within one test. Looks like it's pretty impossible. So I wrote, Joe would need to score a 31 to get his average up to an 8, which might be impossible. I mean, maybe the teacher will give him some extra credit or something, but getting a 31 seems pretty high, especially when he's only gotten 110. So to recap, all we needed to do to figure this out was, first, figure out how many points Joe had gotten so far, which was 137. Then figure out how many points he needed to get, which was 8 times 21, because he needed to get an average of 8 on 21 tests. So we needed 168 points. Then we subtracted them to get 31. So this makes me think, if Joe's not going to be able to get his average of 8 with maybe one test, what if Joe wanted to raise his average up to an 8 with a bunch of tests? What if he got perfect scores, he got 10s for a whole bunch of tests in a row? Could he ever get his average up to an 8? And if he could, how many more tests must he score a 10 on to get that average up to an 8? Now this is a challenging question and one we're actually not going to answer in this video, but give it a try for yourself because you'll probably see something just like this on a quiz or test as a challenge question. Thanks for watching this video on measures of center. Make sure that the entire time you are working without distractions, stopping to pause and predict what was going to happen next, rewinding as you needed, and of course, take notes the entire time. I'll see you next class.